Alright, I hope you guys are having a fantastic Saturday, and here I am, it is Hero here, with the one and only Dyanketo here,
Hello,
ready
everyone.
to bring you guys Spark, the European tournament happening today, with some of the best European teams competing for a grand prize of 200 euros. That is absolutely amazing.
That is quite an amount you can do a lot of things with on a Saturday like this.
Definitely. I 100% agree. And, you know, it's great to see a tournament like this actually happening, because this is what the scene needs. But without further ado, we're going to be looking at hopefully some really exciting and great matches today. We're going to be watching the top 16 of the tournament, as the group stage has already happened, and the top 32 has already been decided in a single elimination playoff format. And we're going to be heading into a very exciting match, hopefully, between Orcs GP Black and the winning team. What are your thoughts on these teams that we're going to be seeing soon? Are you excited to see this tournament, Diane?
Yeah, definitely. I'm really excited what everyone is going to bring to the table today. I mean, there's 200 euros on the line, so it's one of those things you're going to bring out your A game for. And one of the matches we're going to start on is Tower Control on Skipper Pavilion. I'm actually curious what your thoughts are on Skipper Pavilion.
Well, Skipper Pavilion is, up until this point, the most recent map added to the game. And it's been a while, however, so no team really has the excuse of saying anymore, hey, I don't know how to play this map, I haven't played it enough. That excuse is long gone nowadays, and it's a pretty interesting map, really, as most of the time it generally favors, especially when we're thinking about a mode like Splat Zones, something like a more ranged team composition. And something that makes this map unique is definitely the fact that the map itself is not exactly symmetric. It doesn't play as symmetrically as most of the other maps in the game do, as there's generally an imbalanced split between the northernmost and southernmost side of the map. And different map modes favor different sides of the map. Rainmaker features mainly the southernmost part of the map. Meanwhile, a mode like Clamblitz often sees a lot of action happening in the northernmost part of it, making for some really exciting games. But Tower Control really is a mode that I haven't seen too much here, and it's definitely going to be interesting to see how these teams do fare here, as we're seeing, on one hand, Orcs being a well-known established team with a very well-known unconventional playstyle against a very interesting pickup here. Do you know anything more about these, these players we're going to be looking into here, Diane?
I'm actually trying to grab the team right here. First, the anti-winning club. They have a few players up there. One of them is Binks, that I'm familiar with. And right now, he's actually grabbed the job. So that's going to be a bit of an interesting pick here for me. I haven't seen that too much yet.
Yeah, it's something that... Okay, Charger is really good on Tower Control. Everybody knows that. It's easy to get a kill on the tower.
It gives you the Stingray axis, and having a Stingray on Tower Control is just a must-have these days.
Exactly, and even despite the nerf, it still is rocking strong. However, seeing Binks on the Charger is something that you don't really expect, considering Binks is a player that is well known for his dualies. He's a great player on Plumeria team that is most known for running those triple dually team compositions, with Binks being generally either the midliner dually or the extremely sharking and flanking frontliner with those dapples, and seeing him on a complete backline weapon makes for some very unexpected action, as we see here anti-winning club going for that mid control, stopping that early push from Orcs.
Yeah, he's been trying to actually grab that baller with trying to get that inkjet with that baller, but the quick bomb against that baller pushed it back just enough to prevent, of course, the inkjet user getting split. And actually, the Orcs are in control of the tower right now. But of course, yeah, this Stingray you just mentioned, it makes such a quick work of how to get around the tower.
Yeah, and it's really important to also underline that Orcs here, they're running their well-known bomb spam comp with 4 players running the Splat Bomb and using it to its to its best, really, I have to say, considering they're one of the few teams that does play this this very unique playstyle, and very effective one, as we see them here pushing with 2 kills into the 58-point marker and up to the next checkpoint. But regardless, they do not have a Stingray. So the fighting back those Stingrays that Binks is going to be trying to charge here is going to be close to impossible for them.
Well, like you mentioned, it was really unconventional because they're not running a Stingray at all. So that makes it for that you have to take out the other team's backline. There's so much fast. It's just that point where you stop and think like, how am I going to approach this? And we just saw earlier that if you use those shortcuts that get added to the stage, if you toss a bomb up in there, players just can't move fast enough to get away from that pressure.
As we see here, Oryx actually using those bombs so well, as we know they can, and as we know they always do, being able to completely stop that push without needing a Stingray against a team that had both Stingray and Jetpack ready and loaded, as we see them stopping here another flank and 3 specials ready on their side, with a Storm potentially coming in soon since Zozo already has nearly a Storm again, so we're going to be seeing here a push definitely coming in from Oryx. It's probably going to be stopped by that Stingray, but it won't be a very solid push unless they do go down.
And there we have it. It's the Stingray.
That's a Stingray, but 2 players down, and Oryx still holding up that enemy plant. Dually squads are being set up in a very favorable matchup against the Blaster player. Is forced to retreat, however, in a 3v1 scenario. It's a really good teamwork coming in from the anti-winning club. Does get picked off by the Tri-Slosher. However, Dyanketo, being the last player alive, means that this is going to be the opportunity the anti-winning club wanted, but they're not setting up themselves fast enough. Their team composition lacks turf control. We see a Blaster, we see a Rapid Blaster and a Charger. That team composition cannot paint for itself. Meanwhile, Oryx, on the other hand, they've got the Junior, they've got the custom dually squadron, they've got Double Storm. That is turf control in a nutshell.
They basically are in control for like 75% so far. If the moment you actually see the camera zoom out, you can see that the entire map is just basically green all the time. So they have the freedom and they have the movement to adapt to their opponent's playstyle in a quick instant.
Exactly, and what anti-winning club needs are those picks. But as we see Juju here getting 1, assisting 2, and Binks being forced to jump out, last player standing, it doesn't seem like with 30 seconds left against 3 specials ready again by Oryx, it doesn't look like anti-winning club has what it takes to win this match.
Rain is going to actually make a lot of difference here.
First rain being popped. Zozo does go down, but the second rain and the armor are still available here. Potentially going to stop this push before it even tries to happen. We see the Storm being popped. The armor still being kept by Dyanketo, getting popped right now as Kago is trying to push up with that baller, trying to make something happen, but all of his teammates are down. And that is the game.
For that, yeah, that's game. That's game. That last second jump on the tower, you often see players forget that you do not get on a tower quick, and it still stays there for the enemy team to just get that last few extra points in.
Exactly.
It's one of those key points that creates that 1-point meme you'll see so often happening.
Yeah, but jokes aside from the actual streamer mode and everything, that was in a relatively low scoring game. We didn't see the teams push that much, but despite them not pushing much at all, it was just, regardless, Oryx's match. You know, they might not have pushed much. They didn't really have to defend much, even without the Stingray, as effectively anti-winning club only got 1 push going in that whole match. And really, Oryx just got so much turf control, it was so overwhelming that the anti-winning club pickup just couldn't reply to that entire series of, you know, map control. Even if it's tower control, it doesn't have to be splat zones, as we're going to be seeing now. If you cannot paint the map, you can't get in. And if you can't get in, you cannot get those pushes, you can't get those actions going. And it's something that's been plaguing a lot of teams that haven't really realized this. As we can see this, even if this is a pickup, they're actually running double blaster. And double blaster is not really something that right now you should be running. Unless your players are absolutely outstanding with that blaster, able to get some ridiculous kills. So like players like Ben or Benny, you know, those kind of players. If you're not able to consistently pull that off, then running double blaster, it just kind of backfires way too much for it to be effective. So it's going to be interesting to see whether Anti-Winning Club does actually adapt and switch to a more balanced comp, or if this is still going to be Orcs' game.
Well, it's on Manta Maria, so having something like a beacon over here, having that long range can help you out, but having double blasters on splat zones, again, the rapid blaster and a T-Tech, as well as their custom blaster, it's definitely a very aggressive team composition we have here on their side. So I think they can definitely make a dent over here. As we can see, the Anti-Winning Club taking first control of the bunker, actually initiating one of the first flanks here.
Yeah, Rek trying to go for the first flank, does spot off two players, unable to get to the Rek there, and gets punished very, very effectively by Juju and Zozo, combination of the two. They did let Anti-Winning Club get the zone, but it doesn't matter really here, as they're able to get that Storm, get back into position. Zozo's in mid, they popped bubbles, and this is looking like a very clean retake coming in from the side of Orcs, as they're going to be looking forward to push and get that advantage yet again.
Yeah, they already, Orcs already had 3 players down on the side of Anti-Winning Club, so they can really get more of their advantage state further in. And as you can see here, they're pushing them back so far. They're up in their street, and even though it looks like that bomb rush is really helping though.
That bomb rush couldn't do anything at the very end. They just could not fight back against the amount of turf control and bomb pressure that Orcs was able to output. You know, Bomb Rush is amazing to get the control of the zone, but when you're facing against 4 players that know what they're doing like that, and Agito just pushing up, getting 2 picks, potentially 3 picks with a junior, triple assist, ridiculous plays coming in with those ballers, and those bubbles. Wow.
That's really something else. It's not something you see every day. They're literally just waiting around and waiting for Anti-Winning Club to get back out. They're in complete control of those. Oh. And just as I mentioned it, to be in complete control, we of course see it being retaken for the Anti-Winning Club.
Yeah, Binks there really going for what I would define as a bad play right there, just dropping down, going for the bomb rush in full enemy control. Somehow that play ended up working out as he was able to get a unexpected pick with a bomb rush, and his teammates were able to follow up. Rek does go down, however, so it means they only have 1 jetpack live. They're halfway through their specials. Meanwhile, Orcs does have everything at their disposal, so this jetpack fight is going to be going on the side of Kago. Really important pick here, and let's see how this develops as Orcs gets the zone.
Well, already, actually, I was actually trying to mention about how they had bubbles already popped, and then trying to take control of their bunker. But it just happened so fast sometimes. As you can see here, Fyro actually losing its life on the enemy's team's bunker just gives the Orcs some extra time to get back into the game, get back into challenge their own bunker, get this street, get the plats in, throwing those bombs in, and it actually worked. They're pushing them back so far again.
Yeah, and I think the biggest mistake by Anti-Winning Club so far has been the fact that they haven't been capitalizing on those opportunities that they've been getting, right? We saw them get picks on Orcs, they had control, and we just saw the blasters, both blasters, actually just standing up in their plant. And with a team comp like theirs against Orcs, they really want to get that pressure as soon as they can. They want to be going up, setting themselves up, getting those kills. And if they can't, that is what Orcs wants. They want to get those turf control for free, those specials without having to get into firefights. And it's just like Anti-Winning Club is playing Orcs' game.
It seems like every time Anti-Winning Club is actually, like you mentioned, every time they're trying to get a retake, it's like, okay, we done it. It's a good job. We won. And then
exactly.
Back and just takes the game.
Exactly. Whenever that happens, we just see Orcs just go on top left, throw in a storm or two, then just go with a jetpack, and they get the retake again, and they push Anti-Winning Club further back. And it's really not what you want to be having happened to you, especially when you're running double blaster, really.
Ooh.
Well, really solid picks, and this is, again, the opportunity that Anti-Winning Club wants. They spot out Ski, who's with the jetpack. He should be a very easy pick here, as he doesn't get spotted. He still is on the bunker. Zozo does go down. Juju does go down.
Challenging their left pad. Oh, but it dies. That's a really nice pick for, actually, Anti-Winning Club. They really needed this right now.
That was exactly what they needed, Diane. Exactly. Now they're getting set up. Fyro does Shark a bit too much, gets spotted and lets that street control a bit too freely, but with that double jetpack, it looks like Anti-Winning Club is looking to close this game.
It looks like it's really gonna. No, Juju really tried it, but it was a 3 versus 1 situation at the end. They really tried their best at the end. They had so much pressure, they had so much pushing power, but actually the Anti-Winning Club got the opportunity they needed and realized that that's the exact same moment they needed to push their advantage as much as possible.
Exactly. I 100% agree with what you said. And really, it was just Anti-Winning Club finally understanding that they had to get those picks. They had to teamwork. They had to do those 2v1s. Or else the game was going to be over for them. And as soon as they realized that, the game was theirs, even if it was splat zones. And Orcs, you know, their turf control is immaculate. It's amazing. They still lost, and Anti-Winning Club with an amazing win there. Bringing this to a Game 3, Rainmaker on the Reef. And what are you looking forward for that one? You know, Reef has had reworkings in the past. What do you think about its rework, and how do you think it's going to fare in this specific matchup?
Well, of course, the Rainmaker the Reef having its rework, I think it's a little bit better. It just creates more opportunities right now and making a few specials, of course, a bit less effective on. I still think a lot of teams still try to push up their left alleyway that much. I don't think that's such a wise decision anymore. I think it's better to go just straight ahead as we used to do before. It's still one of those things. How do you call it?
Choke points?
Yes, thank you. I was stuck on that first. It's
no
one of
worries.
those getting past those key choke points actually makes all the difference. Once you can get them, I feel like on Rainmaker the Reef, it's all about controlling your enemy rather than controlling the objective. Because once you get control over the enemy on this map, you can push the objective to a lot of points so fast. It's unbelievable.
Definitely, and you know, controlling the enemy on this map is mainly done by controlling one specific part of the map, the bridge. Controlling bridge is so important. If you get that bridge control, it means that you can see with an eagle's view the entire approaches, like every single approach that your enemies can take. You can completely stop them from trying to take an approach from top, from left, from right. You can see everything and stop everything and push up and extend this control even further up onto the enemy plat. So even getting a sizable amount of pressure constantly, which is absolutely amazing. And I think you are right, really. The way the map has been reworked, it makes, when you're playing Rainmaker, pushing on the closed a lot less favorable compared to pushing up straight onto that plant, by the way it's been reworked, really. Although, we have to say that if you're playing with a Stingray... sorry for the cough again. If you're playing with a Stingray, actually Stingraying from your far left ramp into that closed is so strong. And that could be something that we might see coming out of Anti-Winning Club if Binks did decide to remain on that Stingray charger, which is always a great idea when we're playing Rainmaker to stop those pushes.
Actually getting a roll around, that's nice. From Aura on the side of Aura. They
actually
realized they need the quick. They made adaptations to their game plan. They know they need the speed this map offers. It really favors flexibility comps. As we can see here, actually Binks grabbing the Rainmaker as fast as possible, going for the underside of the bridge, firing like you mentioned on the bridge, getting that control up and there. Oh, but that inkjet. That inkjet though.
That inkjet
almost
does
getting
get hit by the
picks on
Rainmaker
you.
and goes down, but Zozo is ready with a bubble combo. And you know, something we haven't really mentioned is Zozo is amazing with the junior. He's well known to be probably the best junior player in the West by far. And the new Kensa Junior has bubbles and the well-known torpedo bomb. And the very interesting thing is that if you're able to time the torpedo correctly and follow it up with a bubble, the torpedo can actually insta-pop the bubble by itself, making it for essentially a one-shot kill on any opponent close by, which is something that we saw Zozo there effectively use to get those kills on the Rainmaker and in mid, as well as pressuring the entire bridge with those torpedoes, which so far has been, you know, decently effective. However, 2 players going down on the side of Orcs, and we see Zozo going for it again and getting the same exact kill.
That was so nice. I'm literally at a loss for words at moments. I'm sorry.
As we see Orcs here, you know, Orcs' skill is not at a loss of words. He's a loss of jetpack. He's getting that kill, and it's 2 players down on the side of anti-winning club. We see the Bamboos are in a very weird position. Binks there, trying to go for a very difficult shot instead of going for a more smart approach of just simply throwing those mists. As you know, he's playing the mist Bamboozer, and throwing those mists, as we see a double mist comp, which would make LSDJ proud, is preventing actually Orcs GP from trying to push up that closed, but not if you stop throwing those mists, if you stop putting that pressure, as skill is pushing up, able to get so much pressure going, but not enough to get those kills that he was trying to get in order to extend that lead even further.
Oh, that was actually a really nice fake out by Zozo. I like actually throwing out a second curling bomb, but just not chasing after. I mean, it can get pretty predictable if you do it off, but it gives him time to read the opponents, and that's, in my opinion, a really smart move, even though it's just one small thing you can do at that moment.
I would have to specify that I am bad, and that is curling Bamboozer, not the miss Bamboozer. I had my inner little sound DJ was just getting too much hype, and I just didn't realize that that was the bad Bamboozler. So that was my mistake, unfortunately. But you know, that it happens. Unfortunately, some people make the wrong life choices and decide not to play double mist. It is what it is. However, we see Zozo here trying to shark extremely hard with that roller. Unfortunately, gets picked off. Probably should have jumped out before actually going for that. Going for that flank. As we see Binks here attempting to push for his team, trying to get the lead, as he does not. He just falls short, and there's 2 players down on the side of Orcs, however. So this could be the pop that anti-winning club needs to win.
But they're so close to their target, and it looks like Orcs is definitely getting staggered. I mean, they're getting picked off one by one. So anti-winning club is just slowly pushing up that small bit every time. And there we have the dunk. Did you see that last minute he charged the Rainmaker? He decided to fire it upwards just to have its shot delayed so that he can prepare a second shot with knee. And it actually landed right in front of the pedestal just to get that ink done and just make it that dunk so much faster.
Yeah, and we see anti-winning club actually going for the win, which definitely goes against their own name, but really, really well done. That was an exceptional snowballing in that close, as you know, that pop they got next to the car right after the end of that choke point, that was what led them to actually win that game. They had a 3v2 man presence, and they were able to pop the Rainmaker, getting 1 player down, and that push just turned into an unexpected KO. So extremely good showing there coming in from the anti-winning club. As next up, we're gonna be moving on to Amaterasu against Earth Firmament, but you know, hopefully that match is going to be just as exciting as this match has been so far. And you know what map modes are we going to be seeing up next?
I'm more familiar with those names. Those are definitely teams you want to look out. They probably scrimmed often against each other, and they've played against each other in a few other tournaments as well. So I'm sure it's going to be an exciting match.
Definitely. Although I think that it's pretty interesting to see that, you know, something that is somewhat of a trending topic in this entire in this entire tournament is actually that there is a lot of teams that are actually running some subs. They're not running their complete roster, and that is pretty interesting because this is something that we just don't see with with some pickups here and there. We actually see it happen with some really well-known teams such as Kraken Paradise. They're running a few subs, but if we look at, for example, Materazzi and El Firmament, they themselves, they're actually running a few players that you don't really see playing with them too much. For example, Materazzi is playing with Oliem, a very well-known French slosher player, which is really good, and it's pretty interesting to their comp. But I think El Firmament really is the team out of these two that has the most interesting additions for this tournament. So aside from their usual main core that you would generally associate with El Firmament, being Wanu, Lamont, Getaway, and Brazario, those players that you immediately associate with Elf. There's also two really amazing players playing for them in this tournament, and that is AP6 and Kronos.
Yeah, can you actually elaborate on that for me a bit? Because I think it's interesting as well, but I think you mentioned something earlier.
Well, El Firmament's, like, these two players that are adding to El Firmament's roster, AP6 and Kronos. Now, AP6 coming from, I think it was Astral, and he is an absolute god with the Rapid Blaster. He is a Rapid Blaster one-trick that is so good with that weapon, it is crazy. And Kronos, on the other hand, coming from the recently disbanded Chikara, being an amazing flex player, able to flex from the custom jet squelcher all the way to blasters and range blasters and T-Techs, so able to play a huge variety of weapons, being able to flex anything that the team needs. So it's going to be interesting to see what El Firmament is going to be going for here, and especially if they're going to be going for a reasonable comp, or if they're going to go for some triple blaster, wacky lack of turf control mayhem. But
it could definitely work, like you mentioned earlier. If you can get your picks right, if you can get your shots right, you don't need as much ink as you would need. But of course, the extra ground control just helps everybody. But if if El Firmament is going to sub out a few players, it actually makes me wonder if their team play is actually still the same level as what we're used to seeing. So I've been thinking about who are they going to switch, who are they going to sub out if they would.
That is definitely something interesting, and I wouldn't really know myself, as we actually do have a sneak peek of the lobby here. And right now, we actually see Monk, Brazario, and Getaway. So three of the main Extralamar players. Who, out of those, we currently do not see Wano, who is their blaster player. But I think it's pretty interesting. I think very interesting is Getaway here out of all these players. Oh, as we see Wano, so we see the main roster. So no AP6 and no Kronos so far. So the teamwork is going to be on point as we expect it to be. And really, I think Getaway here is probably a player that we're going to have to look out for the most, considering Splatlings recently have received a pretty nice buff with that run speed, with that main power-up.
It makes Splatlings just fly all over the map so much faster. And in my opinion, they actually really needed the buffs because they just felt so underwhelming at some point. If you compare it to weapons of the same range class, it just gets outranged. You just have the ball pointer, you get outranged by the custom jet, and just everything. So now it more feels like it's still a backline weapon, but it feels like you can actually use it around the midline area as well, because you can basically move. Yeah, I'm gonna call it flying across the floor.
Yeah, like that. It definitely gives a good mental image too, is what the ballpoint is able to do, and in general all the Splatlings right now. And really, I think Getaway, we've seen him a while back. He was known for being one of the few players playing the mini back in this game. Definitely to a great showing. And it's gonna be interesting whether he is going to be playing the mini again. The Zinc mini, I think, is probably an amazing weapon right now for turf control and as a midliner. Or if he's going to be playing the backline role, which El Firmament doesn't really seem to have covered in this team comp. So we could very well see him on the heavy Splatling, considering it's port mackerel. to use that amazing stingray or ballpoint. What do you think, Diane?
I was still in my mind thinking about both minis and their differences because we're on splat zones import macro. So I really think the hammer actually can help out a lot in this as well. But then again, the other mini has the curling and of course the ring with it. So it's a bit of an yeah, the ring helps for the zone, but the hammer helps in the alleyways for macros so much.
Well,
so
I do agree with that, but I think a team composition that I've been experimenting with to pretty decent success has been recently pairing the Zinc Mini with a roller, with the vanilla roller, which is a pretty no-brainer team composition, as the roller really wants that turf control and that curling mix-up. As we do see the roller being picked here from Rosario, an exceptional roller player. However, we do see the heavy, not the Zinc Mini, being picked by Getaway, which makes a lot of sense, as we haven't been talking about Amaterasu here. But Amaterasu here is one of the most known German teams, with Pokefan being the most known Stingray user in the West, I think. Definitely his Stingrays are feared left and right. And you know what's also feared? Getting wiped at the start, as we see Amaterasu here to a beautiful, beautiful opening here.
Wano is actually trying to get that blast picks in so well. Just getting a few indirects and they're just escaping it and popping that inkjet and of course the Stingray makes it for a really, really nice retake here. Ooh, that was such a nice snipe from Pokefan. Getting that inkjet is so effective, actually taking out just half their pressure power.
Yeah, and really, the match seems to have come back to a more neutral situation. We do see Rosario here in a very unfavorable position.
Rosario needs to get out. Rosario needs
to what? Well, that was pretty poor communication, I think, on the side of Amaterasu. Really, the T-Tech player just backing off and not realizing that the very clearly called down roller player was just sharking in that corner. So Rosario getting a kill that he probably should not have killed, opening up the door for El Firmament, able to get 2 picks. Pokefan forcing her to jump out, and this is what El Firmament was really looking for. They're going to be abusing the capacities of the NZAP now to get that turf control on the plat, on the enemy plat, as they already do. Armor and Inkjet being popped, and a fight on the right and on the left for that really, really important Spodge control as well as top left control, as Awu does have that jetpack ready for the retake. So, patience coming in from Amaterasu, able to not fall victim of El Firmament's traps, and although El Firmament gets the lead here, this is going to be the retake for Amaterasu.
It's been what they've, like you mentioned, it's been what they've been waiting for all. Just patiently putting up that wall and putting up the pressure, slowly pushing it forward, getting more in control, pushing the enemy back, just little bit by little. Actually splatting.
Oh my God! Why no?
You crazy man!
Why no? And he's got the jetpack plus armor ready yet again, as we see the combination of jetpack and armor again extremely effective with the Stingray. And this is going to be one hell of a lockdown if they're able to get those picks that they're desperately trying to get.
But as we see here, Jossie and Awu actually getting in by using a pincer strategy from both sides. It's really nice to see that being T-Tech back on the zone, getting that back chased up. Oh, losing his life. That was so unfortunate. Getaway made a really nice play there.
Just really solid there. And I think definitely that individual play by Getaway, the ability to recognize that he had to back off from that court. He had to make sure to stay alive for his team and survive that Stingray. If he had not done that, that would have been a retake for Amaterasu. But thankfully for El Firmament, he was able to recognize the situation and make a great series of plays. And really, El Firmament with a really convincing KO. I think Amaterasu had an amazing opening, but they just couldn't keep up with El Firmament's coordination and pressure, really. When
you actually review the match that just happened, it was, like you mentioned, so coordinated, but they adapted and their decision making was done so well. They somehow felt what their enemy team was going to do. They actually knew what they were going for. I don't know how to pronounce it properly in words, but it's like having this sixth sense that knows, like, okay, this is the part where I need to jump away or otherwise I'm going to get splatted.
Exactly, exactly. And now we're going to be moving on onto Rainmaker on Starfish main stage now. And I don't think we're going to be seeing, you know, that big of changes coming in from either team's composition. We've seen them play, you know, they are pretty confident with the team comps and players that they've been bringing out so far. And it's going to be very interesting to see whether the aggression that Firmament was able to put up in the previous game is going to be kept even for this one. That combination of armors plus inkjet to control the top left and the enemy snipe was so good, and it's going to be interesting to see whether they're going to be doing the same exact thing to control the top left and, again, snipe in Rainmaker on this specific map.
Well, the point with on this map, I feel like the main point you need to have control of is just like in the same on stage as on the reef. You need to have control of mid. Once you have control of mid, the point of pushing is now. I feel like it just gives you this opportunity. Even though the stage has been reworked, it's still very effective to be in control of this mid part. Basically, even though you have this small elevation part, you know, those ramps you can go up before you get into the mid center. It's just, I don't know. You can actually contest their zone so well.
Alright, as we see here, Firmament going for that control you were talking about, getting that quick early pop, as they're actually running a double armor comp, as Wanu is definitely going to be trying to abuse those as much as he can, pushing up, able to get a kill on Pokefan. That is going to be pretty big, and Awu's kill on the Rainmaker is going to be pretty big as well, but not that much. His getaway is going to be pushing that Rainmaker already. Whoa.
That is 13 points already. That was so well done by Firmament. They just got rid of Pokefan. They saw the opening. They pushed up so far, and Lamonk is here in just the 2v1 situation, actually getting taken out. Pokefan and Dragon actually just getting back up in there.
Well, that opening was
barely any turf control.
That opening was the complete opposite in respect to what we saw last game. Really, we just saw Firmament so convincingly just getting that armor, getting that pop, pushing up instantly, and if it wasn't for Owl getting that pick on the Rainmaker, that could have easily been a wipe, and it's 2 players down again. Lemonk spotting that end zap. His teammate does go down, unfortunately, but he's going to be keeping that mid control for his team. He's got the armor ready in a second if he doesn't lose this firefight here, as Wanu is going to be having some great teamwork there, helping him win that scenario, and they're going to be pushing up again.
Just getting it up there. He just snuck by so fast, and they just couldn't splat. That was actually really funny to see, in my opinion.
It definitely was, but it was also like a great showing of Firmament's game sense right there, as he realized that the rampant player was mispositioned, and again, great showing of the game sense. They just realized, look at that, they realized they were not looking at the Rainmaker. They just try to pick it up to see if they got another opportunity, and it's 3 down again.
The Rainmaker is in such a bad position. It's so hard to get it out of there. Either as a team, you either needed to have it reset just to get it out of there, or otherwise you're going to get into a lot of trouble controlling this map. Oh, nice pick from Pokefan and Basari.
Pokefan really being the main line of defense here, showing off, you know, the charger and some amazing snipes there, but they don't seem to be enough. She's been getting those great snipes, but her team just keeps dying in mid. They're not able to. What? No! Just look at him go, and if he gets the other direct too, that's gonna be crazy. Well, there we go.
That's so crazy. Oh, but it's going to get reset though. This time they actually have the Rainmaker where they want it now, so it's up to Amaterasu actually to change this around. But if you look at map control done by Firmament, they're just controlling them so well. It seems like Amaterasu is constantly getting into the 2v1 situation.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you, and it really has to do with the team composition that Firmament has been using. The Zinc Mini, the Dynamo Roller, and the N-Zap are all amazing weapons at turfing, really. Some of the best in the game, and when you pair 3 of those together, it is expected to be getting the map completely in your color 90% of the game, as we see an amazing flank by Getaway, a double kill, and again, they're getting so much turf control, but they're also winning their fights. And that is so huge, because if you win your fights, if you have your turf control, what can your opposing team do?
Oh, Dragon trying actually to go for the flank, but gets spotted by Monkawanu so fast. It's so unfortunate. You need to have some sort of patience, even though sometimes you're at a disadvantage, realizing the situation you're in, and then trying to push that effort, that advantage. Thank you. As far as you can is one of the key points. You need to make sure that your opponents do not know where you are at some points in the game if you're going to make it succeed. But we see Getaway actually going forward again.
They just don't stop.
It's a really unfortunate situation for Amaterasu. This is so...
And Wano getting that pick to add insult to injury. If he's able to get that direct, he unfortunately is not. He is! Oh my god. Pokefan dropping. Oh my god. Nobody was there to follow up, because that was kind of a suicide series of kills. But regardless, really, what do you think? What does Amaterasu have to do to get back in this game? You've been talking about the patience, but what do you think exactly they have to do? What positions, what specials, like what do you think they have to do in this match with those 15 seconds left? Do you think they're going to be able to do something?
As we're seeing it right now, they're not, in my opinion, they're not going to make it. The side of El Firmament is just too strong. If they actually had the time to build it up, like not just 15 seconds left, they could actually make a run back by actually coordinating that Stingray they had early and trying to get that specials up in there. Trying actually to get control of their snipe would have been one of Amaterasu's needs in this game. I mean, so far we've seen El Firmament jump up to their snipe, get work around their windows, getting up in the pits, and just creating a giant havoc there, being just having a disruptor there. And it's one of those things that was missing on the side of Amaterasu in that last game.
Yeah, I think just like El Firmament was so dominating this entire set. The opening of Port Mackerel kind of fooled us into thinking the opposite, but really El Firmament just showing up so much turf control, so much teamwork, and I think they really highlighted Wano as a Blaster player. You know, a lot of people have been saying Blaster isn't as good recently, and although I do agree with them, I think when you do pair the Blaster, however, with such a good turf control, with you know, as we were seeing there, double armors, so great turf control armors, and a team to actually back it up in its fights, it can just highlight itself so well. We just saw it in this series here. Wano is just playing so well. He put this team on his back for those kills, while the team did such an effective work at getting the turf control, and obviously not losing their own firefights when necessary. But that was just a great showing coming in behind the Frenchies over here. Just really unexpected and outstanding. Clean 2-0. And now we're going to be waiting for the next opponents, but still, what do you think so far of what we've been seeing, Diane?
What we're going to be seeing, yeah, that's going to be something...
No, what we've been seeing.
What do you think of what we've seen?
Yeah.
Let me think about that for a second. Let me rephrase what I was thinking about. What we've seen is actually pretty interesting team compositions so far. I wasn't expecting the Dynamo, of course, on Starfish main stage, but like you mentioned, having the turf control, of course, then again, it makes sense. Getting that fall-off damage, it works really well with the Blaster, for example. That was something you don't see that much often, and in this case, it's not the Kensa Dynamo, it's not the Stingray version, but it's the Armor Dynamo. And with it, you can actually just refresh your ink tank so fast, so you can actually keep control once you get control of Snipe, of course. Refreshing that turf control is huge, actually. And I wasn't expecting that.
What do you think? How much do you think that the recent patches have actually influenced the current metagame and the compositions that we've been seeing, and that you expect that we will be seeing in the next sets? You know, how much do you think that has shaken up the metagame? Do you think it's positive? Well, what are your opinions on it?
I think it's more of a positive buff, to be honest, because mainly it gives more weapons, more viability. They added the buffs in such a way that actually the strongest types of weapon, I feel like it's some sort of useless buffs. If you look at main power up for rollers, for example, it just increases their kill range, in my opinion. Just to get that extra damage in is for a roller is of course already very effective. But personally, as a carbon player, it just makes the carbon viable again.
Yeah,
as a very dangerous makes things fly over the zone, which was already sort of an underused weapon because you have custom jet squad that has of course burst bombs and stingray at your disposal. So you have and the range and of course the supportive power and of course the stingray to wipe other players with. Besides that, it gives blasters the more jumping accuracy. So if you think about the very bad accuracy you have while jumping with the rapid, it just gives it a little bit just of an edge. And so far, in my opinion, it just helps. Personally, I just felt it favored splatlings and rollers more than any other weapons.
I do agree. I think rollers and splatlings have probably been the most positively affected weapons by the main power-up actually being implemented in the game. I think another weapon that you don't really mention too much that did get a pretty noticeable buff from main power is actually the H3.
I just wanted to mention the nozzle noses and dualies as well.
Exactly, and yeah, those weapons have been receiving a noticeable buff, being able to deal a lot more consistent damage to what they could already previously do. And considering the H3 is a very popular pick as a midliner, even if I don't think it's that amazing, main power-up does really help it guarantee those kills and actually win those firefights that the H3 so often loses because of how difficult the weapon is compared to, let's say, a custom dually squasher. So essentially, giving main power-up to the H3 lowers its skill cap slightly to a point where it makes the weapon better in those fights that it generally tends to lose. So it's going to be interesting to see, because we're going to be seeing some teams like, I'm pretty sure they should be still in the tournament. There should be Potatoes and Baguettes should be the team, where we do see Obito, for example, playing, which is an amazing H3 player, probably the best in the West, tied to Toon, in my opinion. And it's going to be interesting to see whether he, for example, has implemented the main power-up and to what extent and what effect that has for him. But I think the implements of the recent patches go beyond actually the main power-up itself. I think, you know, the Kensa weapons have been also pretty interesting. What do you think? Which Kensa weapons do you think are the most effective in the current metagame, and why do you think so?
I think one of the most effective Kensa weapons, I'm gonna point out the Dynamo for a second, just because it has so much ground control.
That's a pretty interesting one. Haven't seen it too much.
No, it works on a few maps. It has a lot of crowd control capabilities. The Dynamo itself already has a lot of turf control. Adding the Booyah Bomb, of course, it's not really something of a special, but it gives you the option to push away and force away your enemies. It's sort of I'm just gonna mention it, tandem missiles, but then on a better method. It's like you want them over there, and then you want the pressure there, so you can easily switch it around. One of the other Kensa weapons I like a lot, which you see a lot in the meta, are of course the Kensa dual. Those are just amazing. The suction bomb and baller capability gives you such a flexible set of options. So if you would compare it to, let's say, a fighting game, you usually would pick the most options that are available to you versus your opponent's team to handle and deal with situations. And having this combination in the current map is, of course, interesting. But then I would fall back on the main power-up abilities. Actually adding more damage to some weapons would, of course, make ballers faster.
Yeah, I agree.
things like ink armor, having that extra damage on there makes it sure that one bullet would be enough to just pop the armor. And then, of course, the ink resistant, 1 point of ink resistance sub, just having a few frames of no chip damage standing on standing in enemy ink can just help. I feel like if you're on the front line, it should definitely be a thing you should consider.
Yeah, and it's and I think the Kensa dualies have been rising to popularity as probably considered one of the best frontliners right now, seeing as jetpack has been falling in usage. More and more people have started to figure out how to counter jetpack effectively, how to deal with it appropriately, and double jetpack compositions aren't as strong as they were a few metagames ago, a few patches ago, meaning that the Kensa dually has been, again, as you were mentioning, just becoming so much more popular and prevalent. But I think probably the most important, most influential Kensa weapon right now, I think, is the Kensa Undercover. Considering how good of a support weapon it is. And talking about Kensa Undercover, we might actually be seeing it soon, as we're going to be watching Super Meme against Kraken Paradise. And if we think back about last week, if you think about Sendu's in the Zone 9, Kraken Paradise was able to actually win that tournament with an amazing losers run and reverse sweep against, not sweep, but a reverse win against Ghost Gaming in the Grand Finals. And one of the keys to that success, in my opinion, was Gray playing that Undercover Bella. He played that weapon so phenomenally well, making such amazing plays for his team, that I think that weapon just puts the team on its back a lot, considering it's a midliner support weapon that struggles to kill unless it's using those torpedoes, but it just really is such a phenomenal weapon. And I think also a weapon that I have to shout out personally would be the Kensa Machine, but that is a personal preference, and I'm looking forward to see more teams actually experiment with it. Unfortunately, Ghost Gaming is not playing in this tournament, because I know Urza has actually been playing the Kensa Machine on a couple of maps, but you know, they're not playing, so we cannot see that. But yeah, we're gonna be looking into Super Meme and Kraken Paradise in a few minutes, and you know, what do you think about what we're going to be seeing? You know, do you have anything to say about the Kraken Paradise roster right now, actually?
Yeah, I've seen the roster. They actually have Brian on there, and I was like, what is going on in this match? I mean, I know this is a European tournament, but why is he subbed in there? I think that's pretty interesting.
Yeah, we see both Quavo and Brian actually subbing for the side. Subbing on Kraken Paradise. Both are amazing backline players. Quavo also being a flex player. And these two players are subbing in for Kaji. And, you know, Kaji being the Kraken Paradise backline. The Splatling Queen. And really just having that player not be on the team for this tournament is something fairly unexpected. And it's going to be interesting to see whether Quavo, you know, who is extremely good with the Splatlings as well. I think he's been practicing the ballpoint recently, if I'm not mistaken. It's going to be cool to see whether actually he's going to be able to keep up the standards that KP has for Kaji and that backliner role. And against them, we're going to be seeing Super Meme. Now, do you know anything about Super Meme, Diane?
Well, as first of all, I only know Bitmap from this team, and of course Yoshi. But we know many Yoshis in this. There's like a ton of Yoshis in this community. It's impossible to know which one is which. So the only thing I know is basically Bitmap, and I think he was playing Blasters a lot.
All right. Super Meme has actually gotten, I think it was 7th in Sendu's in the Zone tournament, with a pretty nice performance, definitely showing off some, you know, pretty good plays. I think Yoshi was a Kensa dually, if I'm not mistaken, a really solid player with that frontline role, and it's gonna be pretty much an uphill battle for them. However, Kraken Paradise being currently one of the 2 frontrunners for the best European teams. Even if they do have a sub, I don't think that is going to be hurting them that much, especially when their sub is such a good player like Quavo is. So it's going to be interesting if Super Meme can hold up in this best of 5 semifinals, as we're going to be seeing quite a nice diversity of map modes and only one splat zone. So we know Super Meme knows how to fight on splat zone. It's going to be interesting to see whether they have that knowledge also for the other modes. And that is going to be something to keep an eye out. Definitely, for sure. And, you know, the first map mode we're going to be looking into is going to be Clam Blitz on Gobi. What do you actually think about that, Diane?
Clam Blitz on Gobi Arena, it reminds me, I mentioned it during the Rising Squid Land earlier, but Gobi Arena reminds me so much of Walleye Warehouse, where you have those few first enclosed spaces you have at the start, and then the open space in the center. I was thinking about having sprinkler placements just to get that turf control in. Having the Stingray, of course, helps. But what you recently see teams doing is having the inkjet bubble combination right in front of the grates, just to push up the bubbles in there, to have the safe passage for the power climb to toss it in there. And what I've seen other teams use is something like a brush just to get up on their own platforms and work their way down, and then have their other teammates jump in and toss in those clams.
That is pretty interesting, but I definitely can see it happening. And I do think that the grates here, you were talking about these grates, and I do think that they're probably one of the most important and game-changing aspects as far as this this actual map mode goes. Because when you think of playing Clam Blitz, right, your first instinct is, okay, I'm gonna get those bubbles, I'm gonna get that baller, or you're gonna be going for those that bubble push or that baller jump and get those clams in. But here you have that nice little grade that is preventing either of those from happening. So you really have to either, again, as you were mentioning, have somebody dedicatedly, like doing a dedicated flank onto that plat to distract the opponent from top and working the way from the top down, or having somebody flanking from the left side onto the plat, or passing that choke point, because it's really a hard choke point to pass. You can really easily stop it with jetpacks, with Stingray, and bombs themselves. So it's going to be interesting to see what's going to be happening here on this map mode, and if Super Meme has the answer, has the key to be able to actually beat Kraken Paradise. As we see that Kent's undercover.
On the undercover Brella, as you mentioned earlier.
As we see at the ballpoint, so a pretty expected comp coming in from Kraken Paradise, definitely an extremely solid one. They do not have that Stingray.
The Splatfest shirt.
The Splatfest shirt. As we see Kiver going down immediately in a favorable scenario for Super Meme, actually. 3 players down. Full wipe Super Meme. That is not a meme. That's a very serious opening, and they're able to get... Oh! That is the Super Meme. They miss the power climb after getting an exceptional opening, and they get wiped themselves with what could have been a very, very split and a huge push, just turning into a simple clam score. That was pretty unfortunate, as you see Kraken Paradise setting themselves up for their own pushes now.
Yeah, that was basically a back and forth manipulation of map control. They themselves both have now 2 power clams at their disposal. Because they tossed it in so early, it just gave Kraken Paradise that extra power clam they can use. And Blantro is actually using the baller in a different way. Like you mentioned, the grades actually stops you from using the baller, so you're going to have to flank really, I was gonna say rank flank really hard, but really smart to actually use that baller to your most potential, and getting, of course, that first power climb in on the side of Kraken Paradise, tossing the second one in, and Kiver
coming in. Whoa!
So fast.
And Plantra, is he gonna be able to pick that up? No, it doesn't seem like it. However, scoring, getting the kill on the Hydra.
He's just extending the timer.
Oh my God, Plantro and Kiver, what beasts! And I think really, the real beasts there were Quavo and Gray though. Without them actually scoring those clams through those bubbles, that would not have been any push, you know. And that was I was about to just mention how good Super Meme's defense had been up until that point, really, but just passing through that bubbles, I didn't even think about that. That was an extremely smart, risky at the same time, but well played off series of actions coming in from Kraken Paradise as they're looking to score yet again. As they get one power clam in, and Gray is going to be trying to get that second one in. He is not. Great defense coming in from. He does not notice Kiver though. Oh
Kiver
my
just
god.
sneaks past that. Oh, but unfortunately dies to the bomb.
Kraken Paradise with these sneaky plays coming in from Kiver. Those just unexpected triple kills and doubles. Absolutely amazing. But Super Meme now has 34. Like they have three power clams at their disposal. They could be going for a full 4 power clams. And that would definitely be enough to get the lead. Get it down to 10 points. But it doesn't look like. Yeah. It does. They get the jumps.
They're jumping in. They're getting it in. They took the lead.
Oh my god. And Bitmap getting the kill on Kiver. Is he going to extend this? No, he cannot. But still, that was a crazy lead. Oh my god. That was crazy coming in from Super Meme. Oh, okay. And we see, you know, despite that being so crazy, we just see Kraken Paradise going for yet another push here. Able to get jumps in and getting the lead back themselves. This is such a back and forth match. We just see Plancho again jumping in, letting Kiver jump in, extending that timer just a little bit. Unfortunately, Quavo not able to do anything there. And this is going to be looking like it's going to be Super Meme's time to retaliate. With over 1 minute left, they might just have enough time to get this going. If they're able to get, let's do some math. If they're able to get 3 power clams in, that is going to be enough to KO. So let's see what they're going to be able to do to make happen here. As we see the frontliner on the side of Super Meme going down. Both the frontliners on the side of Super Meme going down, meaning that the turf control is going to be going on the side of Kraken Paradise now, who does have a power clam at their disposal as well. However, Bitmap does have a power clam and a bubbler ready, so this is going to be pretty important to stay alive, as he does unfortunately get punished by Quavo. Quavo and Kiver holding off that far right side of the map extremely well, forcing Super Meme onto the far left, just keeping them locked down next to that basket of theirs, as they seem to be unable to move, as the moment they try to move out, they do get punished by KP, able to get the score and win that game. So that was an incredible back and forth game. You're back, Kato. Nice.
Oh,
okay, nice.
No, it just somehow disconnected me for a second and everything just went haywire on my end. My apologies.
Do not worry about it. Don't worry about it. But that match was insane. What do you think about it, man? That was crazy.
Well, that was one of the things I had issues with. It kind of crashed on me a bit, so I had to reboot it for a minute.
Oh. Well, you missed an amazing match then, because the match is going so back and forth. I think it was just at the end, though, Super Meme didn't really find those picks to be able to get onto the enemy plat, get those openings that they were able to get the first half of the game. So KP really showing off in the latter half of that match. Kiver definitely just popping off with an insane 23 KA, which is something you don't see every day. As we're going to be heading into Rainmaker Camp Triggerfish, or Mission Bazookarp Hippocamping, which sounds very funny.
What?
I'm just like trying to read the French name, butchering it, but it sounds very funny.
Mission Bazooka. Oh yeah, Bazookarp.
Hippo camping.
Yeah, that name actually looks really funny. Setting up a tent on your hippo. Yeah, that's what you're gonna do in your backyard every day now.
Definitely gonna do that every day on a Rainmaker, setting up that tent to be camped with a Hydra's Flatling. It's gonna be interesting to see here if the teams are gonna be changing their backline to a Stingray variant. Although I have to say both the Hydra and the Ballpoint are definitely very viable on this map mode, considering how well.
Both teams aren't sporting a Stingray at all, which is usually what you.
No. Super Meme is sporting Stingray.
Yeah, Super Meme is. But usually you would expect more on that, also on the side of Kraken Paradise. But they have the ballpointer actually getting the first 2 picks, and on that side, getting them out of the elbow just gives the room for Kiver just to push it even further. I mean, they have already 2 frontliners up in there. It's just like Kiver gets a free ride to the pedestal. With
It's
only
been absolutely
V
amazing.
being down, Bitmap is the
Plantro!
only one left, and that's it.
Oh my god, that was just ridiculous. They didn't need a Stingray. You don't need a Stingray when you can just walk up with the ball point, get those triple kills at the start, and just follow it up so exceptionally well. Gray and Plantro just completely locking down the entire Super Meme spawn before they could even do anything or get out or respawn. That was just crazy. We just saw Super Meme not be able to even put a fight back. This was incredible.
The second match.
That was 10 seconds. That was ridiculous.
Set it up, get the Rainmaker, run, goal, dunk, done.
You know, Super Meme put up such a good fight in Clan Blitz, and in Rainmaker it was just like over in an instant. And now we're back to splat zones, and you know, we've seen both of these teams know how to play splat zones well. And this is going to be a really interesting and really important showdown. Super Meme is 0-2 right now, and they really want to be winning this one. They don't want to let KP get this 3-0. They want to get this reverse sweep. They have to believe in themselves, and it looks like they're not changing their comp too much. KP is just clicking ready instantly, so we're going to be seeing probably very similar comps. So let's see.
Well, Kraken Paradise already came out with a lot of movement and flexibility options, which of course these maps offer a need.
Definitely.
But then again, actually Quavo sporting the Hydra and Bitmap now grabbing the undercover umbrella. I was expecting a little bit more blaster play, because a blaster having up in their enemy trench is just so powerful just to pressure them off.
I 100% agree with you, but it looks like the teams are going for a more turf control oriented approach. Gray switching to that umbrella definitely makes sense if they want to get some clean turf control and some amazing team fights like this one. Able to push up for free up onto the enemy snipe and punish the chargers well and get into their spawn. Gray, no hesitation, no fear. Some amazing plays here. Able to beat the Tita in a 1v1 in spawn. KP does have turf control as well. Wow.
He's just taunting them basically in their own zone, and then going back, retaking the zone, and they're just creating such a lockout. There's only JC left on their side. Getting, of course, sniping, of course, Giver is going to help prevent that flank, but they actually need to have it going right now, and that bomb rush is definitely one of the things that's going to help. And Kraken Paradise jumping out, realizing the situation they're in. They're realizing that the bomb pressure is a bit much. Oh, of course, getting those 2 picks out. This is definitely a stronger push on the side of Super. Getting the control back in, popping, of course,
popping that arms, yeah, like really solid take back. Oh, as soon as I say that. Like, it was such a solid take back by Super Meme there. The way they coordinated their specials, they were able to get kills. But they just forgot about the Hydra. They just trickled in one by one. The Hydra able to get some crazy kills. Quavo there just putting the entire retake on its back. And now we're back to square one. Kiver's back into that snipe. Gray is following up. Plantro and Quavo are set up in mid, making sure that nobody can pass by out into the zone. And there's finally 2 picks for Super Meme. This is what they're looking for. Again, they get Quavo. They're trying to get Plantro here. They don't get Plantro
to get that. Plantro, can you do it? Can you win this 2v1? No, but he gets a trade though.
Plantro absolutely insane, able to stall out enough for his team to get back control of the zone. Gray's pushing that up. 3v1, amazing teamwork and synergy coming out from Kraken Paradise right now. Kiver does get sniped there, really unfortunate. And with the armor being popped and getting close to that bomb rush, it's looking like Super Meme's about to make another retake, as they do.
That was actually a really smart from Ralsei, tossing off that suction bomb and then just retreating, not going forward but retreating, looking at what the enemy is going to what's planning. Oh, getting back on that Hydra, that's of course big, rolling over that sprinkler, taking it out. But Kraken Paradise already had the mid control, so it was unfortunate. It was a really great but they needed more. They needed more mid control in that sense.
I agree. That was a great flank there, but there was nothing to follow up, and unfortunately, he was not able to get the kill on Gray. Had he been able to do that, well, that would have been a completely different story. But still, we do see Super Meme here able to get a momentary control of the zone. Kiver trying to push up with some sick moves. Unfortunately, being stopped, both Gray and him getting stopped finally from getting that plat, but not from getting those kills and that storm.
Well, it looks like Gray is definitely feels at home in that trench. He's been spending so much time in there, getting so many picks on both mains, and just going back up there. And then we finally follow Blantro actually getting
Well, it seems like Super Meme is unable to get their control back this time with the Bomb Rush and the Baller. Extremely unfortunate, but regardless of that, it seemed like this match is going to go to Kraken Paradise in a way or the other. Regardless, it is pretty interesting to underline that Super Meme was able to constantly retake the zone by using Bomb Rush and Baller, but those controls were some really unfortunate, just momentary controls, really. The best way to define them was just like taking the zone back for a second, prolonging the inevitable death, really. I couldn't think of a better way to say this, because essentially they were getting control, but they were not setting themselves up. They were not being ready to take that control to a next level, push up on that snipe, make sure that the backline was down, and get that pressure onto snipe that KP was constantly doing. So that was something that Super Meme really has to learn, looking at from KP. You know, sometimes the best way to learn is from a loss, and I think this is going to be the case for Super Meme. I'm really looking forward to see what they're going to be able to do in the next tournaments. But regardless, it was a very nice showing for coming off from them, since, you know, Kraken Paradise is such a good team, and it's really hard to even last for the entire 5 minutes against. But KP wins with their Super Meme performance, is what Lean wanted me to say, and I have just said this, and now I'm gonna slap Lean whenever I see him again. But regardless, we're gonna be moving on to the Grand Finals already. And the Grand Finals are actually going to be something very interesting to see, as we're going to be seeing, obviously, Kraken Paradise yet again, but at the same time, on the other side of the bracket, we're going to be seeing Prophecy, who actually was able to defeat in a 3-1 fashion El Firmament. Now, something to underline, which is pretty interesting, is that, you know, most of the teams we've been seeing and talking about right now have been clearly European teams. This has been mainly a European tournament, since the time zone for it has been so much better for them compared to Western players. At the same time, Prophecy is not that at all. Prophecy is one of the most well-known and, in my opinion, best American team and Southern American teams. Prophecy actually has a lot of really fantastic and amazing Southern American players, such as Misael and Morsa. As we do see Morsa playing here, we don't see the fourth player yet. I'm not sure whether it's going to be Misael or Arashi or Tetsu.
I'm alive again?
Yeah, you're alive again. You're back. Diane, we're going to be watching Kraken Paradise against Prophecy as we see them already in the lobby, and Prophecy is just waiting on their last player.
Mm-hmm.
And what do you think about this? You know, I've been talking about Prophecy being an Southern American team, and it's just fantastic to see them being able to play at a tournament at such a time, and to put so much effort and be able to get to the grand finals. And, you know, what do you think about this? Waking up at 7.
Tournament, get to grand finals.
Exactly.
Hey, at least that's a good.
It's like going to work, but on Saturday.
Basically. So far, they're up in grand finals. Actually, like that means that they've taken out El Firmament. That means that there's definitely some sort of pushing power that we haven't seen before yet. Of course, Prophecy is of course well known. So I'm curious about the fourth player they're going to bring in, because we see here from Kraken Paradise, of course, Gray, Plancho, Kiver, and Quavo are already in there. But then, of course, we have Arashi or Misa waiting on the side of Prophecy.
Yeah, and really, like, we see Misael, okay, alright, so we see Gamer being the, you know, the Splatling extraordinaire, the one being the Brella Master or Explosher based on the flavor of the day. Morsa, probably one of the, well, least known, I would say, but best slosher players in my opinion, a great Southern American player. And Misael, which I've seen switch from crazy weapons such as Roller to Hydra and playing them to such a great extent. So I'm going to be interesting to see what they're going to be pulling out for this Rainmaker on Skipper Pavilion. And talking about Rainmaker Skipper Pavilion, do you have anything to say about it?
I actually wanted to go back to Misa before actually switching to Rainmaker.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Because it's really interesting to have the ability to switch, like you mentioned, from rollers to splatlings. It's such a different playstyle because, of course, the splatlings are very, very defensive oriented, very backline oriented, working, of course, sporting that turf control you need. And then, of course, having the roller going for flanks, being sneaky, working your way down the other team's members, getting the picks in you need. That's a very different playstyle, from very aggressive to very defensive, and being able to switch from one side to the other can make a lot of difference. It definitely testifies the amount of flexibility you need. But then again, Rainmaker on Skipper Pavilion, personally, I'm not really a fan of Skipper Pavilion. You mentioned that on the lower side, it's really favored, of course, having that on Rainmaker, not using the top side like you should in Clan Blitz. Basically, if you have Clan Blitz, it's both-sided thing. If you're not taking care of your pincer attack in Clan Blitz on Skipper Pavilion, you're going to lose.
Yeah. And here on Rainmaker, really, I think it's also pretty interesting to notice that you can see it on the map. That little gray section of the map is actually a flank. You can actually flank up into the higher section of the map, making for some pretty unexpected plays. As we see a ballpoint versus ballpoint matchup, and something that we haven't really seen much at all. Misael is actually playing the Kensa roller. Out of all the rollers, this is something that we haven't seen much of at all. In Japan, a while back, in a Splat Zones only tournament, we actually saw a composition winning the tournament playing the Kensa Roller and Kensa Junior, so bubble combination. But you know, it's pretty interesting to see the weapon being picked and being played per se. Definitely making a lot of sense to pop that Rainmaker. But it's going to be interesting to us how Misael is going to be able to use those bubbles to his advantage, and why he's picking that over the vanilla, which is the more traditional aggressive roller with those curlings and splashdown and everything you really want.
Well, personally, if you look at the Kensa roller has, of course, the splat bomb, and it adds so much pressure power, especially on a map with a lot of elevation, like on this map. It means you can just toss your bomb and then just roll it off the edge just a little bit. Having the bubbles, of course, pressuring up their own elevation just adds that extra pressure power you already got with using the splat bombs. And like you mentioned earlier, Quavo here using one of those flanks just to get up on their own plat, leaves just Plantro on the side of Kraken Paradise. But it looks like Prophecy is actually trying to go for the north side.
And Gray just stopping that completely, absolutely predicting that. And I have to say, really, what you were mentioning about the bubbles was exactly true, as we saw Prophecy pop those bubbles to defend the objective on up into their plan. So it's going to be interesting to see whether that is going to be what they're going to repeat and keep on doing, as they also do have a Stingray to stop the push if needed, while Kraken Paradise, on the other hand, is running no Stingray. So if this push gets nasty, then it's going to be one hell of a trouble for Kraken Paradise, as we see here the one. Oh my god.
Push by Prophecy. Just realizing in that moment that the situation was hopeless, going for a simple shot, painting, climbing up the wall is really reminiscent of Walleye Warehouse, where you just go for that quick bump up on the wall and then just be over. Defending it with the Stingray so well, that was such a nice play to have.
Exactly, and really I think an outstanding play earlier from the one, just showing off some exceptional knowledge of the map that I haven't seen many players pull off at all. Just like, I didn't really know about that trick right there. Absolutely amazing getting it all the way to 20. And it looks like KP has full control of South, waiting for that Rainmaker reset. But it's going to be a pincer from Prophecy with that armor, with that Storm as well. Able to get the kill on Plantro, forcing the jetpack on Kiver, getting the kill on him as well. And this is looking like another push from Prophecy. Just, they seem to be on the driver's seat right now.
And this is one of the points I mentioned about hating Skipper Pavilion. It can, if you have the more knowledge of the map than the opposing team is capable of, you can definitely use that to your advantage and make sure that you can push it so far. I mean, Prophecy even just ignored the beacon they Kraken Paradise displaced earlier. Of course, it got taken out once someone jumped to it, but
and
again,
we see the Stingray being popped again to stop that Rainmaker on its tracks. Didn't really have support or team control, so it was kind of a suicide push anyway. We see the Storm being used by Quavo kind of late, I think, as, again, pincer. Amazing play, though, by Quavo. Quavo's just going insane with that Splatling. Out of ink, able to get a double kill. This is actually huge. Quavo has come in huge with that series of kills. The machine going down as well. If Missile is not able to stop that, as he is, thankfully, for Prophecy, or that would have been pretty grim for them.
Well, earlier, Planter was up on their plat, actually making havoc, but the thing was, they were out of sync at that point. They were Planter was just too far from the objective to actually help the push further.
Yeah, I think
right
something
now,
that I've
it looks
noticed.
like Kraken Paradise is setting up shop in their own zone.
Finally, KP is setting up the shop, as you were mentioning, because up until this point, I perfectly agree with you. KP was somewhat disconnected from themselves. Prophecy, on the other hand, has been absolutely nailing that teamwork, nailing that defense. They've just been playing everything correctly. KP, on the other hand, we just see them trickle down one by one, and it is something you don't really see often coming in from this team. As with 4 seconds left, this is going to be game.
This is game. They're just gonna they popped the Rainmaker, they grabbed it, and they were like, okay, as you can see on the map, like we see now, turf control was entirely on the side of Kraken Paradise, but that's not what Prophecy needed at this point. All Prophecy needed was to grab the Rainmaker and then actually fall back, because the Kraken Paradise had no Stingray.
Exactly.
And that actually bited them at some points. That yeah, it bit them in the butt.
And we see a pretty low-scoring game coming in from KP. And I definitely think that the ballpoint splatling was one of the major obstacles for KP in that match. If you think about KP's team composition, and you think about the ballpoint that Gamer was using, you can easily see how their entire team composition, except for their own ballpoint, just gets demolished by Gamer's pick. Like that ballpoint has such a good matchup against the entirety of KP's roster right now that it's gonna be really, really difficult for them to fight it back. And they're gonna have to put a lot of effort into making sure that Gamer is unable to control the match with that ballpoint, forcing him into bad position, being able to get those picks on him and the entire team, forcing him out. Or else, they're going to be trickling in like we saw last game. However, we're going to be moving to Splat Zones, and Splat Zones is KP's home turf. There's no denying that, right?
If I'm going to deny that one time, just smack me across the room.
I will, for sure. However, Splat Zones Albacore, there's one weapon that I think is phenomenal there. And that's the ballpoint, and it's going to be interesting to see how these two different ballpoint players stack one against the other. What do you actually think in the, why the one is taking so long to pick his weapon? Do you think we're going to be seeing a comp switch? What do you think about this map?
Well, this map generally favors long-ranged weapons, so having a ballpointer for quick turf control and, of course, that long-range pressure is, of course, a thing. And what I really want to see is Quavo pick up the Hydra, but he doesn't. He goes for the ballpointer, and we see Misa picking up the Hydra. That long range on those sides of the map is just so effective. You can basically challenge just about anyone if you're on your own bridge yourself.
Yeah, definitely. And I think one thing that we haven't mentioned about this map is how good Stingray is. This is probably one of the best Stingray maps in the game, but neither team is actually running Stingray. And I personally think that this is going to really benefit Prophecy. Prophecy's team composition would not automatically, but close to that, lose to a well-played Stingray. They would just completely be unable to fight that back. But regardless, it looks like KP is the ones in the holding a really solid control of the zone.
They're actually holding the zone really well. It's like you mentioned, it's what KP does, and it's what they're good at. So it's basically just right now, as they're showing off, it's basically a waiting game right now. And of course, yeah, Brella versus Sloshers. That's just the thing. You get picked off so well. So it was a fight for Blantro to win, but he got picked off by Gamera on that side. And actually, Prophecy taking back the control.
And
of course, commentator's curse is a thing.
And I think Prophecy holding control right now is going to be really scary for KP if they're not able to get the picks. Because that double Splatling core is going to be really hard to find. Well, no, just kidding, commentator's curse. KP is just like coming in and just killing everybody. However, I do think that that double Splatling core is going to struggle to get back in, as we saw at the start. But once they do get in, theoretically, it is amazing, theoretically. But as we saw, KP was able to completely negate that in a few seconds. So it's going to be interesting to see, first of all, if Prophecy is able to get back into that map, as we see them chaining storms, trying to come from that top right. But they're able to get 2 picks. That is what they want. Are they going to get zone? They are. Okay.
The point I want to see Prophecy doing is work their way around the Hydra, because the Hydra has the most range out of everyone on this map.
Yeah.
So if you're going to make this work, you definitely want to have your Hydra player as far as possible, because you can outrange just everything. And we all know it's a 3-shot weapon. So once you get the player as far in as possible, at the point where you just stand on the center of the zone, you can basically just control every part of the map by the by the flick of a wrist. And
that's exactly what Missile was actually doing up until that point. For some reason, dropping down. It seems like Prophecy is actually struggling to maintain a decent control lockdown here. What we've been noticing is that they do get the zone, they do set themselves up, but I don't think the position they're setting themselves up into is actually all that good. Every time they had control so far, we saw KP was able to just walk ahead from far left. They just walked up every time. And that is something that should not be happening when you're running such a team composition like Prophecy is. So this is going to be their last shot. 6 seconds left on the timer. They're able to get this control, and they have to get this kill on Gray. If they don't, then this is going to be tough for them. They were able to push him back. Nobody here to support Morsa, as Missile is backing off. Morsa just constantly going for a fight that he probably should back out of.
Oh, that's a really nice combination, again, of having Baller, Inkjet, and Armor ready. And they're charging in. They know what they were doing. They coordinated it. They make sure they get the right picks. The side of Prophecy is completely down, up and then respawn. And then they're just working their way down the zone. Actually, oh, I thought it was a trade on Misa, but Misa just barely survives with that Splat Bomb hitting it. That was... Yeah, this is definitely the time for them to take the zone back, or take control back. There's only there's 10 seconds left on their penalty and only 6 seconds left on the side.
Double Storm, great pick, my gamer, but does get picked off by Kiver. And I think that's going to be game.
That Kiver flank definitely ended it. If Kiver did not flank Gamer right there, it would have been just done.
I agree. They wouldn't be able to
get a new chance.
I 100% agree, though. I think the most interesting thing is still the fact that Prophecy was just unable to set themselves up properly. I don't really understand why Gamer, for example, was not taking the catwalk on the left. I was just standing in mid. That just really opened him up to some very weird positioning, made him a lot easier to target for both the Rapid and the Inkjet. And so I just don't really agree with what they were doing when they had control, because with their team comp, they should have easily gotten a 100-0 knockout just by standing still and holding their trigger and just making sure they would not only paint but get those sick kills abusing their long range. But it seems like KP was just able to push and break their defense so exceptionally well. and we're gonna finally be moving on to tower control. And
actually, it means that Kraken Paradise is definitely living up to their name. Of course, having no Kraken specials in this game means that making a push up into a formation is, of course, a bit different, but it definitely is one of those things you want to do. Once you break up the enemy's formation, you can just pick them off at one point, one by one. But tower control on Walleye Warehouse. So we're already talking about a flat map, whereas Stingray, of course, is very useful in an enclosed space, or things like ink storms and such. And then we also have it on tower control. So I've spied on this someone before. Someone called it Stingray Chicken. And basically what happens when people play that game is basically nobody really wants to pop a Stingray, but we only have the machine Stingray here available. And on the side of Kraken Paradise, there's none at all. It's basically just all pressure power with the undercover umbrellas, the Kensa undercover even. Personally, I feel like it's really a disruptor weapon.
Definitely.
With the torpedoes, you can shield your teammates while your teammates deal damage, and then you yourself, of course, can grab those torpedoes. And I've picked up Charger recently, so shout out to Brian for a second. But I've noticed that if you play Charger and you get a torpedo against you, it's one of those worst case scenarios in my opinion, because you have to sacrifice either your shot or try to swim away, still have the possibility. But
it really
Giver here, starting up that inkjet, putting up that pressure up in their own plat so fast, that's really scary.
I think the interesting thing also about the team composition Prophecy's been using is, first of all, they're able to get a lot of turret control very quickly and very effectively thanks to the mini and the undercover Bella. But at the same time, they do have 2 armors and no front lines really. Their front lines, like their pseudo front lines, are actually the mini and the machine, meaning that they're having to rely on the armor to actually push up and get those win those firefights. So it's something pretty unconventional. They were still able to get the lead there, which is pretty interesting. And we do see a pushback coming in from Kraken Paradise, but great to get picked off by the Hydra. Misael doing a fantastic job so far. And Morsai is currently 3/4 of that Stingray that he desperately wants.
Okay, that was good. I thought Quavo forgoed going on the tower, of course, going for the kill instead of the objective, but his teammate caught up with Quavo really fast, actually pushing beyond the lead, getting the lead back, and that's actually pretty big on a map such as small as this. Where,
yeah, especially when they're 3 down on the side of Prophecy. That's going to be looking like yet another push coming in from KP, with a flank coming in from Quavo on the right side to pressure that Misael if possible. Morse, however, coming up, not coming up huge, and Plancho getting killed with the baller by a gamer. Now this is looking like a stalemate in the favor of Kraken Paradise, as Prophecy is forced in that close in a very unfavorable position.
They're on a second checkpoint though. This is one of the most dangerous parts in the tower control. And of course they have the Brella on there. It looks like if Gray can manage to... He fell off though!
It doesn't matter. Gray falling off there was a very smart play to stay alive and keep this push going even further. He's got that armor as well. And this is going to be a KO. There is no way this is not a KO.
I just want to jump back to that last second. Gray fell off because Kivir was there actually being able to pick off the players there. And just made sure that he was alive, and then he could, of course, again protect the tower.
Yeah, definitely. And really, I think that stalemate situation just forced Prophecy in such positions that KP just perfectly exploited. They had 2 players stuck in the closed, and Kiver's inkjet right there. It was really the play that just... That play was just fantastic. He was able to pick off one enclosed, weaken the other one for Plancho to kill and guarantee there no flank would happen. And he was also able to get the pick onto Misael, and you know, most of those pushes we saw up until that point had been stopped by Misael's Hydra before they could even get past the first checkpoint. And getting repeated kills onto that Hydra, that was just so huge.
It's basically it's a by the book play. You take out the backliner, you push the objective.
Exactly. I 100% agree with you, and playing by the book, Clamblitz Mako Mart is going to be something that has to be played by the book to be played effectively. It is pretty hard to get the score, but once you're set up, oh, it's hard to get you out of those positions, especially when you're playing something like a ballpoint that can just sit up onto that opposing stack, which is so important to control, and you can just completely control the enemy snipe and plant. So let's see what these teams decide to do and how they end up playing it out.
Well, it's one of my most favorite stages. Of course, controlling the stacks is really important. Clamblitz, of course, is really chaotic, but Mako Mart actually offers you so many flanking opportunities. So if you need to be a bit paranoid, in my opinion, on this map, just to make sure that you're not getting flanked so easily.
I 100% agree with you, Diane, because this map, controlling that stack is so important, and getting those flanks onto stack is just so strong. We don't really see blasters coming in from either team, but you know, that weapon is just so strong and so dominating here. It's interesting to finally see, it's somewhat refreshing to see it not being used for once, though that slosher and that roller pick that we see both on Prophecy and on KP as far as the slosher goes, definitely an amazing pick for this map mode, as we see KP currently being, well, in a stalemate situation that is favoring Prophecy as they're able to score thanks to those bubbles.
I personally favor sloshers more on this map than blasters, also because it does more indirect damage and gives you a lot more turf control than blasters do. So if you would talk about having turf control, which you definitely need for a game like Clamblitz, I would favor the sloshers.
Makes perfect sense, as we see Gray though here going for a nonsensical play. And if I were Prophecy, just seeing him walk right in front of me, and that just working out so well. So great rush there, able to get 2 power clams in and getting the lead onto KP. And it's going to give a free power clam for Prophecy, who does have 25 clams at their disposal. And if they're able to get the kill on Plantro, that's going to open up a door on this side, on this left side of the map, as we see Misael here with the 1, trying to take advantage of this, pushing up with the baller, Morsa going for the super jumps, as we see 3 power clams.
Is he getting it though? The bubbles is definitely one of the strongest things to have here. Of course, a quick bomb would make it worse, make the game easy. Oh, but he has no clams to extend the timer, so he jumps back. But that was so smart.
Regardless, that was huge.
They did not notice him at all.
That was still huge. Even if he didn't have clams to extend it, he was able to safely return to his base, and they were able to get the lead down to 18 points. This is going to be real hard for KP to get back. See, as we see them popping specials here, getting 2 players down, popping nearly every special except for the baller. Gray goes down once again to initiate this scoring. And Quavo again going as well for a suicidal play. Kiver trying to get something in, but they're able to get the timer ticking down, but they're not getting the lead. So they're going to have another push sooner or later, or else it's going to be Prophecy's game.
Plantro actually got a few picks up on there, and that was really nice to see. And he actually kept his distance. He was what we saw was really interesting, because he was actually controlling the clams on the enemy side by just painting.
I think the funniest thing about this match so far has been Gray keeps scoring for KP by just walking straight, and it seems like Prophecy doesn't ever notice that somebody can actually just walk straight into them. And that's been working out so well, because KP managed to get the lead, so outstanding plays there. As the 1 is ready to score back, no jumps however, so probably that play was not called out fast enough for there to be jumps and a follow-up. Because if Morse is able to get that clam in, that could be huge. Morse is just unable to move out of that spot.
They just really wanted, to get that play in, but KP put up a defense so quick, so fast that not having that extra support they needed just to get those clams in, because they know, as you see here, Morsa actually just standing around waiting just for the ball to go off. But are they going to... Gamer actually tossing it in, winning!
Oh my god, Gamer coming in clutch. That was actually such a big choke by Morsa there. They had the jump ready to win the game in one instant, and Morsa, not realizing that, he popped the baller. He tried to initiate the plays for his teammates too without realizing that they had already started, and nearly just dying there and losing that power clam, but Gamer just somehow just sneaking in, getting that score in.
He realized the situation just in time. He noticed that Morsa was in that situation, and he knew with the power clam and nobody jumping in, that power clam would drop off. So as soon as Gamer realized the situation they were in, he just somehow, beyond our sight, just snuck in there, grabbed the power clam, and just tossed it, ending that game. That was such a back and forth game.
Exactly, that is pretty crazy. Pretty damn crazy. Great play there by Gamer, really. Just saving the game in such a stylish and hype fashion at the very, very end. But now we're going to be moving into Rainmaker, which, if we think about Game 1, we saw Prophecy actually convincingly win. So it's going to be interesting. Do you think that Prophecy is going to be snowballing off of the momentum they got from the last win and from the Rainmaker win at the very beginning and turn this into a 3-2 on this Wahoo World? What do you think?
Well, it's definitely not without expectations. Since they done it on Skipper Pavilion, but the difference between Skipper Pavilion and Wahoo World is the distance and, of course, the layout. This is, of course, a very round map, not a long, winded map as Skipper Pavilion is. Basically, I compare Skipper Pavilion to a U-bend, like a shoe.
All right.
The horse, like a horseshoe. Thank you.
All right.
And if you compare that to a Wahoo World, then you have the center of the horseshoe. That's basically Wahoo World. That's your playground. So the strategy to this map is entirely different, in my opinion.
Yeah, Wahoo World is going to favor some really, really smart plays coming in from the side of either team, really, as they do have some similar backlines, meaning that there's no clear advantage on mid for who is able to get that range peek and kill. But it's going to come down to how are they able to play that bottom control, those flanks, because in Rainmaker they're just so big. Being able to get those flanks, clean up that plat, and free up a kill that is going to lead into a push on the far left, that is going to be huge, as we see Prophecy already favoring that bottom control, backing up for some reason, as we see actually the bottom control going in the favor of KP for now, as both teams seem to be very patient and waiting for their respective specials.
Well, while they're waiting for their respective specials, of course you might favor the lower ground control, but it's still rotating, and you can actually manage the time for that by having that on the side. It's often forgotten that you can place the Rainmaker onto the carousel, and if you die down there, it will rotate the Rainmaker with it. But as we see here, the Prophecy pops out the Stingray so quick, ending, of course, that first push that Kraken Paradise was making.
Yeah, ending not only the push, but also Kiver right there, popping up a great kill there, making sure that they would have the player advantage so far. They do pop a very premature Storm here. I'm not really sure to his why, since that doesn't really get them anything. As Misael does go down, the one being alone with the Rainmaker on top mid, while the rest of the team was dislocated on the bottom. Makes him an easy target, Kiver getting a great direct, and with 3 players down, this is again the time for KP to get pushing. Kiver is able to get control on that very important spinner, but the team is just so far behind there. Misael just controlling that choke again with those bubbles like we saw in game 1. Just making it for really annoying for KP to actually get anything going so far.
And this is one of the reasons I still like the Kensal roller. Even though you toss those bubbles out, you can people often forget that you can still toss that splat bomb out and get that kill. And that's just what Morsa did. to stop that Rainmaker.
Really great movement there by the one, able to not only get the kill but also survive Plancho's hits, because had Plancho been able to get that kill, that would have been actually probably lead for Kraken Paradise, considering the positioning that Prophecy was taking was very favoring the far left side of the map, and they didn't really have anybody on the right side. With 2 players down, Plancho trying to push up in mid, able to get the kill on Misael, but the one avenging him. And, you know, he's currently going to have to wait for his teammates to jump in. Torpedo's trying to distract him, and Kiver just taking full advantage of all the stalling that Prophecy keeps on doing. You know, we see Prophecy stop those pushes, get that Rainmaker in mid, but they just stall. They just wait for their team to do something, but nothing really happens, and Kiver just keeps on flanking. They keep on flanking, they keep on getting those picks. And on the other hand, KP keeps trying to get those pushes, but Misael just keeps sharking on bottom mid and stopping those pushes with those bubbles.
Those were it stopped at just the right time, and that's just amazing to see, actually. As being the only Sharker left alive to be able to stop the objective, and the entire team of Kraken Paradise not noticing it is something else as well.
Exactly.
It's pretty fun.
I think the game so far has been fairly repetitive. The way the plays have been going on have been the same on, and it's going to be interesting to see whether KP or Prophecy, either one, is going to just be like, okay, they keep on making the same play. Every time we try to push, this is what happens, right? Okay, let's adapt to that. Let's fix that up. Let's adapt and evolve, and just make sure that they can't do that anymore, and we get the lead. We extend our lead. But it doesn't look like it, because, again, Prophecy is back waiting with that Rainmaker. They're able to get at least 2 kills this time, so it seems like something is happening in mid. But the torpedoes by Gray are just enough to force Gamer on the bottom side of mid. That is where KP wants them to be.
And of course, he gets the pick with Rainmaker, but then Gray and Kip are just stopping that so fast. It's like you mentioned, it's the neutral being played, and it could very well, if this keeps up, it could very well end in the favor of Kraken Paradise for Prophecy not being able to push beyond the 76, the 67.
Oh, that armor definitely, that armor is not what Misael wanted to see. We saw Misael shucking again on that bottom side of the map. He was really just waiting for Gray to just walk by him completely, to once again stop a push if he had the opportunity or get more kills. But that armor by the one definitely blew his cover, and that might have backfired a little bit more than it did help. But we do finally see something happening on the side of Prophecy. Storm coming in, Rainmaker, 2 kills down, and that's the lead.
Last second. I'm sorry. I'm just very excited.
No. I'm just like, all right. All right.
Yeah, basically that. I was waiting where the one was waiting for, because he basically held the Rainmaker. He was charging it, he was firing it, and there was rain on him, but he had the chance to push earlier. So I guess he was waiting for his teammates to get the okay sign to actually jump off that platform, because if you get fired out of mid-air with that Rainmaker, you will not get those extra points you really wanted.
Dude, that was crazy. Like, seriously, the Misael sharking of that map, it just won them the game essentially, because he kept stopping KP from getting past even past it was like 65-point marker. So it was barely anything. A sizable push on this map mode is generally when you get past the bend on the far left, which is where most games go. It's very unlikely to see such a low-scoring game actually happen here, but it did, and that was just like shocking. I didn't see that coming.
It was funny to watch actually, but it was really amazing as well, because at the same time it means so much. At the point where the gamer, where Quavo was challenging the gamer, that was the point that made a turning point, because Quavo got taken out. So Prophecy at that point had the ability and the possibility to push it beyond mid, and that's what they did. But then the one was still holding the Rainmaker and waiting for his opportunity, and he was being challenged by Rain, and everything was going on, but he kept his cool. He noticed, okay, this is the point where I need to make a difference, and then went for it. And because, of course, it was such a low-scoring game, it was over so fast.
Yeah, I agree. Like, really, just the one's patience, it backfired early on in the game, but at the very end, he was able to just keep his cool and just go for the best play possible, as you were talking about. He just went for the opening. As soon as Gamer got those 2 picks and the storm out, he's like, that's my time to shine. And that's what happened. That was ridiculous. That was very, very well played on the side of Prophecy, as they're now up 3-2 as we're heading into Splat Zone's Black Belly.
So this is actually Kraken's Paradise games to lose right now. And of course, the stage has been refurbished quite recently. So I'm still a bit unfamiliar with the refurbished stage. I was actually expecting something like an Explosher because it gives you so much range options and zone control. But we're not seeing any on both sides.
I actually did expect the one to be busting out the Explosher pick, since it's a weapon that he likes and he's so good with. But it's interesting to see they decided to actually have Gamer go on the Jets culture. So it definitely makes sense, since when you're playing with a fixed team, it makes a lot of sense to keep your midliner support on midline supports and keep your backliner on the backline to not really mess up those roles that you've set up and that synergy you've created. But still, it seems like Kraken Paradise has the footing. Great trade by Morsa there. Very, very long and prolonged fight there. But it looks like KP just has control so far, and it doesn't look like Prophecy has been able to do much. They have the Stingray ready. Morse is trying to push up here, but this distraction, though, did work out, it seems. Prophecy able to cap the zone because Quavo and Kiver were so distracted.
Well, giving actually that penalty just a little bit of time, it definitely always adds up, you know? Even though it's just a few points, it still adds up.
That's true, that's true. That's definitely true. However, we do see KP trying to go again for the control of the zones. Kiver does get picked off by the one and more so with a great team play coming in from them. But they don't seem to realize Quavo is about to eat them alive. He's able to eat one, but not the one. If that makes sense. As Misael trying to control top mid. In a very, very bad position. Forced out by the rain, forced out by a lot of bombs. Just gets killed. And it looks like KP is set to get some control. It doesn't look like they're prioritizing that that half, not really that half life. They're prioritizing the half life instead of the usual maze, which is something that you don't really see too often. But it seems to, oh, they're able to get the kill, but it doesn't seem like it's working too well.
The Kraken Paradise.
Yeah, but they just constantly get counters by Prophecy here. We see again Prophecy being able to stop the timer. It is just momentarily, but Plantro did go down, and Misael's about to get a kill on Kiver. Never mind. I'm just kidding. Kiver with a great 1v1 win. We're just kidding. Great 1v1 kill by Kiver, popping that inkjet. Forcing out one player, I think it was, yeah, the one, being able to kill that player thanks to the pincer coming in from Quavo as well. And for some reason, Prophecy seems to be set up as if they had control when they don't have control in reality. So they're going to really need to get that zone. I'm not sure Misael why he was not trying to go for it. They are finally able to get it, and they do have bubbles at their disposal in a 4v2 scenario. So this is what Prophecy was really looking for.
It's finally what they, like you mentioned, it's finally what they need. They really needed to get out of there and out of that bad situation. Challenging Giver, of course, that I don't think that was the right option to make. Even though you have a roller, even though you're fast, it's how do you say it? It's not really a good option to use to challenge. It's you get outranged, you get outshot. It takes 3 shots to go down. With a 10 attack, of course, that's really fast. But of course, be down on the side of Kraken Paradise. This is again an opportunity for Prophecy, but it seems like they're not able to capitalize on that. As
they are able to get the zones. They're pushing up here. Oh, and I disagree. They were able to perfectly capitalize on that. I'm just kidding. You were right. Ah, no, just kidding again. They're finally able to get that lead, and that's a full wipe. With 40 seconds, 18 seconds on the timer, this is looking like it's going to be Prophecy's game.
It's
KP has to pull some magic, but...
And they're on a lockout situation. This is... No. Wow, okay. Good morning.
Well, that was something we did not expect. I think that triple kill they got onto KP, essentially what happened there was Kivir was unable to convert the jetpack he used into kills, and that just backfired way too much because Prophecy played that extremely well afterwards. They were able to pincer up, get a few kills, turn it into a 3-down situation, and Gray, being forced the last one, pushed back, didn't jump out, had the armor but no teammate to use it with. And that baller by Morsa there, just pincering up with a bomb so well, I was just crazy. So props to Prophecy.
He was the only player left alive there, and that baller was just enough to push them and keep them there, to keep them on their toes. There was nobody deciding to go for a flank because, of course, going for a flank on Black Belly Skate Park is really expensive. Well,
wow.
what I mean with expensive is basically you're missing a man on your team when you let it go to flank.
Well, we just saw an American team win a European tournament. Well, that is something I didn't expect to see. So great showing by Prophecy. Really strong. Unexpected performance. Really showing off here. And also, obviously, we have to say, great job to Kraken Paradise. That was, they obviously had a sub. They were not playing with their main roster. But regardless, great showing by all the teams that we saw today on stream. And that was just crazy. And I think Prophecy really just building up some hype and getting a crazy tournament result here. That and also getting some nice 200 euros of prize money. So definitely a nice Saturday of work coming in from them. It was well worth waking up early in the morning to play this tournament.
Congratulations to Prophecy for actually winning this tournament. That's a really amazing job. And of course, it's a really good way to make yourself some extra cash on Saturday as well.
Definitely. But yeah, this was an amazing tournament, and I really thank you for watching this tournament, guys. I hope you enjoyed it, and also I'd like to thank, obviously, the organizers, both of the stream and the tournament organizers, as also the players who decided to, spend their Saturday, either afternoon or morning, playing in this amazing tournament. So it was great, and I hope everybody enjoyed. And I think we're gonna say, have a nice Sunday and see you sometime soon. What do you think, Mr. Dyanketo?
I wish everyone a pleasant Sunday and a pleasant Saturday, and enjoy the games. There's still a few tournaments also as well coming up, so I can see you around in chat if I'm still alive by then. I would like to thank you for picking up where my mic and computer crashed down. Thank you for doing great amounts of commentary. Thank you for the opportunity to do it with you. I learn every time I get into this, so I'm grateful to be around. And thank you.
Well, no, thank you for commentating with me. And thank again the guys at EBTV and Rising Squid for letting us do this. But with that being said, have a nice weekend, guys, and see you guys next time.